Hi, my name is Melanie, and today I will be explaining to you guys 60 queer identities and showing you their pride flags. And all of these will also have versions of the pride flags that have like little squiggles in them, because I did a thing where I would make all of the flags that are in this video into wavy flags, because why are the flags straight? Anyway, there will be 3 sections in this video: a section for genders, a section for sexualities, and a section for romanticities. The genders section will have 28 genders, and intersex is just going into that section because, yep. Then the sexualities section will have 21 sexualities. Then the romanticities section will have 10 things in them, and they'll all be romanticities, but one of them will be arroways, so it could have gone in the sexuality section, but because the romanticities section is smaller, I put it in there. My whole family's downstairs, which means that I can talk to you guys about gender without using my headphones, so hooray. So we're actually going to start this list of 29 with something that isn't a gender. We're going to start with intersex, which is being born with parts of both, like, the binary biological sexes, so like male, female, having bits from both. For example, someone could be born with XY chromosomes, which is the male chromosomes, but then have female genitalia for the most part. Yeah, that kind of thing. Anyway, that's the first thing. Also, sorry, I almost forgot. Take a look at my pretty little redesign of the intersex flag, because even though there's no straight lines here, I could not disappoint, so you get this. Now, actually moving on along to agenda. We got intergender. Now, this has got like 2 definitions, so I'll tell you both. So the first definition is having a gender that's in between the binary male, female, boy, girl, genders kind of thing, which, sure. But then the other version, which I kind of like better, is a gender that's like directly tied to somebody's identity being intersex. The reason why I like that one, I will tell you shortly, but first, look at the pretty flag. I wanted to make it match with the intersex flag, even though this one did have straight lines. So that's why I did that. Moving on, we've got androgyne, that I always want to pronounce androgen, but I did look it up, so apparently it's pronounced androgyne. Anyway, so it's a gender identity that feels androgynous, and androgynous, it's kind of like a mixture between masculinity and femininity, which is why I prefer the second version of intergender, because I feel like having a mixture of like a boy-girl kind of gender could also fit into a mixture of masculinity and femininity, which is androgyne. And obviously this is a completely different identity from being both a boy and a girl simultaneously. That's a different thing. But anyway, that is the basic version of what androgyne is. So look at the pretty flag. Okay, yay. Moving along, we've got genderqueer. Now this is just an umbrella term for any gender or gender expression that is outside of binary norms. So it's like anyone who isn't a straight up boy or girl. So, easy peasy. Anyway, pretty flag. Okay, next we got non-binary, which is a gender identity outside of the binary male, female, boy, girl kind of thing. Yay! I have multiple non-binary friends. You guys are great. Love you guys. Yay! Okay. Pretty flag. Sorry. I almost forgot to mention the pretty flag. So, pretty flag. There we go. Okay, now, moving along again. Doing this so often. Damn. We got agender, which is just simply feeling genderless. Like, where there's supposed to be a gender, you just got a void. It's like where your gender feels like there's just nothing. No gender. None. Anyway, my pretty flag redesign. Next, we got Libra mask, which is basically like agender, but like a slightly connected to masculinity version of it. So they're mostly genderless, but then there's a little bit of connection to masculinity. So that's Libra mask. Pretty flag. Okay, we got it. Now, next we've got cast gender, which is just an indifference to one's gender. So just like not caring about it. Like they have a gender, sure, but it's just not like a significant part of who they are and like their identity, that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, no, I am blah 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 blah, but like I don't really care. It's not that deep. Whatever, blah blah. Pretty flag. Now we got gender fluid, which is a gender that changes what gender it feels like from time to time. Like, for example, one day a gender fluid person could feel like they're a boy, but then like the next day they feel like they're a girl. And it can change between literally any gender depending on the gender fluid person. Anyway, it can get confusing, but again, I have gender fluid friends. So you just ask what gender they're feeling, and then you can get the hang of it. Use the right pronouns, guys. Okay, pretty flag. Now, we got gender fawn. Now, this is a type of gender fluidity that's just, it goes through lots of different genders, but never feminine genders. It's like girl aligned kind of genders. They're just like not there, but all the rest of them are. So the neutral ones, the masculine ones, they show up, but then the other ones don't. Obviously by all, I don't mean like all, but like many. Okay, anyway, bye to this flag. Okay, now next we got gender fey, which is like gender fawn, but instead of never feeling the feminine genders, they never feel the masculine genders. So they be feeling the ones that are feminine and the ones that are neutral, but they're not feeling the ones that are masculine. So it's pretty simple. Moving along. Pretty flag. Okay, now I got Venu fluid. This is me, guys. And it's where you feel only or mostly feminine genders, but never, or like extremely rarely for some people who are Venu fluid, they could also experiencing masculine genders. So like it doesn't happen, or it happens very rarely. This is me, by the way, guys. I only feel the femme genders, but then they do shift which femme gender it is. I had a big crisis about this one, but yeah, it's like always girl, but girl a little bit sometimes girl more, and it's just confusing. And I did spend some time with girl fluid, but it wasn't that. Not girl fluid, girl flux, my bad. It wasn't that. Anyway, pretty flag. Now we've got boy flux, which, yep, anyway. So this is where your masculinity fluctuates. So you can feel super masculine some days, but like barely masculine others. So like if you're feeling super masculine, you're feeling like a cishet dude before and after forcing his girlfriend to make him food. Sorry, I wrote this in my notes about explaining it, and I wrote like a cishet dude before and after forcing his girlfriend to make him food. So before he does it, he's feeling super not masculine, like a little bit, but not really. And then he's like, you know what, I gotta flex about my masculinity. And then he's like, hey girl, go make me a sandwich. And then he's feeling super masculine. Now, obviously, this is a joke. This is not how it actually feels. But I did make that joke, and I did think it was funny. Really sorry if it wasn't. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so pretty flag. Now onto demi-fluid, which is like being gender fluid, but you're fluid through demi-genders, and I will explain some demi-genders shortly. But yeah, that's kind of basic. It's like you stay partly one thing, partly another thing, and like you tend to stick. A lot of demi-gendered people are like agender plus something else. So like demi-girl, you're like agender plus girl, right? So then demi-fluid, you're going from like, for example, this isn't for everyone, you can go through any demi-genders, but you're going from like demi-boy to demi-girl kind of thing. So yeah, you're feeling agender and girl to feeling agender and boy, if that makes sense. I don't know if it does. Anyway, pretty flag. Now, we got demi-boy, which is where your gender is like partly, but not entirely, not fully like a boy, like a man. So that's fun. Pretty flag for demi-boy. Then demi-girl, you're kind of a girl, but you're not like fully a girl. You're just like kinda girl, kinda woman. Depends. Pretty flag. Okay. Now we've got semi-girl, which is like 1 to 59% femininity, and it can be anywhere within that range and still be considered a semi-girl because it's just a range sort of thing, because it's kind of weird if you get that specific. Not like I don't. I have gotten quite specific, but it's a range thing that gives you the label semi-girl. So literally anywhere within that range, if you feel that much like a girl, you get to be a semi-girl. Hooray! Now we got our pretty flag. Okay, then next we have paragirl, which is like semi-girl but flipped the other way. So then it's 51 to 99% femininity, then you get to be a paragirl. Anywhere within that range equals paragirl. So I did identify as this paragirl flux, more specifically, for a while, because I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of always within that range-ish, close enough, but then I realized, I can get more specific than that, labels-wise. So, yeah, paragirl, it's beautiful, my pretty flag. Now next we have bigender. So this is having two distinct gender identities, and this can be feeling them simultaneously or fluctuating between the two. It depends on the person. And now the genders can be quite literally any gender. So like for some people it's being part boy and part girl, and for some people it's different genders. It depends on who you are. Okay, and now we got the pretty flag. Now we've got trigender. It's like bigender, but instead of two genders, it's three. So you got three distinct gender identities that you can either be fluctuating between or feeling them all simultaneously, depending on the person. And obviously, it can be literally any gender. So I feel like, what's an example? Boy, girl, and non-binary. That could be your genders, but it could be anything. So that's fun. We got the pretty flag. Okay, now next we have pangender, which is much like the last two, except they're experiencing countless genders, which probably gets chaotic, especially if you're feeling them all at once. That is crazy. But yeah, pangender is you're just feeling so many genders, like basically all the genders. You're feeling them all at once, all the time. Or maybe you're fluctuating. It depends. Anyway, now we got the pretty flag. And we got polygender, which is just having more than one gender identity and like refusing to accept the concept of only two genders. So like, cool people, I guess. Yeah, I don't really have a very specific explanation, because after the others, you already know what feeling different gender identities at once feels like, because I've already explained that. Well, you don't really know how it feels, but you know what it is, because I've already explained that, so I don't really have much more to say about that one. But we got the pretty flag. And now we got transfemme. Transfemme is anyone who is partially, or you can be fully feminine, whose gender doesn't correspond with their birth sex. So like, you could be a trans femme non-binary-ish person where you're non-binary and feminine at the same time, and you're not born female, that kind of thing. Or you could just be a straight up trans girl, you know? So that could be for people who are born intersex or male, who feel feminine in their gender. So we got the pretty flag. Now we got trans masc, which is like trans femme, but for boys. It's where you feel partially or fully masculine, depending on you and you don't correspond with your birth sex. So if you weren't born male, then you feel masculine in your gender, you can be a boy. Wait, no, hang on, that's not what I was saying. I mean, yes, that's true as well, but you can be transmasc. That's what I was saying. Okay, there we go. We got our pretty flag. And now next, we have neo-girl, which is a connection to femininity that feels different from the way a typical woman would feel it. That kind of thing. It's kind of cool, actually. But yeah, that's neo-girl. Pretty flag. Now we got lunarian, which is for non-binary people feeling a connection to femininity but don't want it to be called feminine. Exactly, because it's not really that. It's like you're not feminine, but in a way that isn't like girl kind of thing. So like you're feminine aligned but not woman aligned, if you get what I mean. And the reason why it's called lunarian is because the moon is in many cultures personified as female, and lunarian. It's really cool, actually. So you got the pretty flag. Now next we have xenogender, which is an umbrella term for gender identities that cannot be explained through typical gender concepts such as feminine, masculine, androgynous, etc. Instead, by how that are explained instead by how they relate to things, beings, or concepts that usually by most people would not be related to genders. Now, people with xenogenders are cool. They typically have a strong understanding of how their gender feels to them, which is really cool, but it can be harder to find the right words that kind of describe how it feels, which is, less cool, less good for them. It's cool still, but it's less cool for them because it's harder to understand. But I'm pretty sure that most, if not all, I don't really remember, xenogendered people are also neurodivergent, which is fun because me too, bro, me too. I'm also neurodivergent. Thanks, guys. Pretty flag. And now I have galaxy gender, which is a xenogender, neurogender thing. Neurogender is like a gender that's related to someone's neurodivergence. Okay, galaxy gender. This is where one feels connected to stars, planets, and or other things related to parts of the galaxy. It's actually really cool having a gender that feels related to the galaxy. Like, I love stars. They're pretty. But, anyway. Pretty flag. And now I got Jaxira, which is related to being female, but still kind of separate. It's like, you're sort of female, but like, not really. Like, connection to femininity, but not being woman aligned, if that makes sense to anyone. I don't really know. Pretty flag. And that's it for the gender section. Thanks, guys. I luckily did not have to use my headphones for this, so hooray. But I did have to record it across multiple days. And there is chaos going on downstairs, which is how I know that everybody is down there and not up here, which is maybe less good, but that is okay. And I did the gender section, so be proud of me, guys. Thank you. Hope you learned some new genders. Moving on, because gender is over. It's a thing of the past. We got 21 sexualities to look at. So first, we're going to look at questioning, which is literally just anyone who's unsure of their sexuality or queerness in any way, shape, or form. Just someone who's still searching for the right label but hasn't quite found it. Now, this is different from being unlabeled because unlabeled people aren't looking for new labels. They've either stopped or they never even started to begin with. So, anyway, questioning, pretty flag. Now we got heterosexual. I think it's pronounced heterosexual. I don't really know. I can't be bothered looking it up. Anyway, I did call it scoliosexual earlier in the month, but that's actually an outdated term, so we're not calling it that anymore. Anyway, it means someone who is exclusively attracted to non-binary or genderqueer individuals. So, that's cool. Anyway, pretty flag. Now I got lesbian. The most basic explanation I can give you is non-man being attracted to loving another non-man. But more specifically, the term is used for people who are women or women-aligned / femme-aligned kind of people who are solely attracted to others that fit that same description. Yeah, being woman-aligned can be like the most masculine woman you've ever seen who doesn't seem to be femme-aligned whatsoever. Doesn't matter. They can still be a lesbian, and so can non-binary people. Deal with it. Also, multi-gendered people. Multi-gendered people exist. Wow! You're shocked, aren't you? They can be lesbians too. Because they are still femme-aligned. Women-aligned. Anyway, I'm a lesbian. Girl who likes girls. Walla. That stuff. Anyway, pretty flag. Now we got gay. Gay man. Them. They're like, it's like lesbian but for boys. So a man or man-aligned, masculine-aligned person, gendered person who loves, is attracted to their fellow men-like beings. So, yeah. And just like with lesbian, they can also include the non-binary peoples. They can also include the multi-gendered peoples. Like, we're not exclusive here. I mean, we kind of are. Not the point. The point is, it doesn't have to be a cis man. Doesn't have to be. Anyway, now we got a pretty flag. Now we got NBN, which is NBs who are attracted to their fellow NBs. And this can apparently also include other genders that aren't non-binary, but I'm not entirely sure. Like, they're attracted to their fellow NBs, but then they can also be attracted to people who aren't their fellow NBs. I'm not entirely sure. Like, I've seen it being put in the same category with, like, Sapphic and Achillean. I think it's pronounced Achillean, isn't it? Like, Achilles? Achillean? Yeah, anyway. But I've also seen it be put with gay and lesbian, so I'm not really sure. It's, like, the non-binary peeps loving their fellow non-binary peeps. The NBs loving the NBs. I don't really know. Pretty flag. And now we've got Sapphic, which is Willowa. It's any woman or women-aligned, femme-aligned individual who loves women or women-aligned, femme-aligned peeps. And they can love other genders as well. It doesn't actually matter. I'm Sapphic. So is every woman who likes women. Woman who likes women. There we go. I'm a lesbian, but I'm also Sapphic because it's an umbrella term. And some people identify themselves as Sapphic as just like that is their label, but some people don't use that and they use something more specific, which like fair, but some people are less specific, which like again fair. Anyway, we got a pretty flag. Now we got Achillean, which I'm calling it Achillean because it's like Achilles. Anyway, it's Malama. It's like Sapphic but for boys. So it's a man or man-aligned, masculine person who loves their fellow men or men-aligned, masculine peoples, and they can love other genders as well. Doesn't matter, we're not exclusive over here. I mean, kinda, but no, we're not. Like, you have to fit the label, but the label isn't oddly specific. I mean, some are micro-labels. Hang on. Whatever, not the point. Pretty flag. And now we got the bisexuals. This is attraction to two or more genders with or without a preference. It's also defined as attraction to one's own gender as well as a gender different from one's own. This does not always mean just loving boys and girls. It can, but it doesn't always mean that. Okay, that's kind of all I have to say about that one. Oh, I did used to think I was bi, but that was in my convincing myself I still liked men when I clearly did not ever like boys, ever. The bad old days. Anyway, not the point. Point is, pretty flag. And now we got polysexual, which is attraction to many, but not necessarily all genders. It's like all but one kind of thing. Well, I mean, it can be, but it's not always all but one. Anyway, to many, but not all. For example, someone could like all genders, but then not men. And that could mean that they like masculine genders, but just not your binary man. It depends. Pretty flag. And now we got pansexual. They are attracted to all genders, regardless of the gender. Gender does not play any sort of role in their attraction whatsoever. There's a whole thing called being gender blind. There's like blah blah blah. Anyway, pan people understand that better than I do. But yes, that is what pan is. It's just being attracted to people, and gender does not play a role in your attraction whatsoever. Pretty flag. Now we got omnisexual. they be like the pan, like in all the genders, except the gender do be playing a role in their attraction. So most of them do have a preference, but for others it's just that they don't experience the gender blind phenomenon. But yeah, no, most have a preference. So it's like, oh yeah, I like them all, but I like girls best. But then they also could date a boy or a non-binary person, etc., etc. Anyway, pretty flag. Now we got the berisexual, which is when they're attracted to the female, those kind of people, aligned genders, and the androgynous aligned genders, with the rare little bits of attraction to the male aligned genders, sometimes rarely. Pretty flag. Now we got almond sexual, which is like berry, but then swap things around a little bit, so they're into the male mask aligned peoples and the androgynous aligned peoples, with rare little bits of attraction to feminine genders, sometimes rarely. Pretty flag. And now we got aberosexual. It's where your sexuality is fluid, so it be changing, and it can be changing in many different ways. So you can be asexual, then pansexual, then homosexual, then heterosexual, or literally anything really. Kind of cool, but it would also be kind of frustrating. I don't know though. I'm not aber. Somebody else can back me up on this or shoot me down on this. I don't really know. Anyway, pretty flag. And now we got the ace flux. It's part of the asexual spectrum, and it's where someone's desire for sex and stuff like fluctuates. So they can go between being fully asexual to grey sexual, all over to allosexual. Allosexual is just for the people who aren't on the ace spectrum, like me. Anyway, that is what ace flux is, basically. It can be anywhere. They fluctuate. Pretty flag. And now we've got demisexual. They're only feeling sexual attraction after forming a close, deep emotional connection bond with someone. Honestly, it's how we all should be. It's not how I am though, so maybe it's not how we all no, it's how we all should be. We should all be demisexual, guys. All of us. Anyway, pretty flag. Now we got asexual, which is feeling little to no sexual attraction, and it is a spectrum. So it's different for different people. Pretty flag. Now we got aloace, which is the ace, which is what I described before, asexual, but they still feel the typical level of romantic attraction. Like they're not on the aromantic spectrum, but they are asexual. So, if that makes sense to you guys. It should. I don't know why it wouldn't. Anyway, pretty flag. And now we've got aspectosexual. They appear to have sexual attraction. Like, for example, they could be flirty, they could make dirty jokes, they could wear clothes that some people deem sexualizing themselves, even though it's not how clothes work. But then, in actuality, they don't have sexual attraction. Not even a little bit. Not even at all. And now, that is it for our sexualities. Wow, I did that so quick, and I didn't even need to wait another day. So proud of myself. Yay! So, I'm actually almost done. Anyway, I hope you guys learned a new sexuality. You probably didn't, but I don't know, you might have. And if you did, I'm proud of you. And I'm proud of me, because I found something new that you haven't seen before. Good job, guys. You're welcome. Okay. Sorry. That's it for the sexuality section. Wrapping that one up. Moving along. And now, people, it's time for our shortest section of all, with only 9 different romanticities. Now, do I know if romanticities is a real word? No, I do not. But I did look up what the romantic equivalent word to sexuality is, and it said romanticity. So therefore, I'm calling them romanticities, because I can. Anyway, so there's only 9 romanticities, but I'm also having Aroace in the section, which is actually also a romanticity, but it's including a sexuality. Anyway, so that's actually 10, guys. It's 10. So, take that. Anyway, we're going to start off with Aroace, because it's in between the romanticity section and the sexuality section. Smart, right? I know. Anyway, so it's feeling little to no romantic attraction, as well as little to no sexual attraction. And as always, it is a spectrum, because we love spectrums here. Now, we got our pretty flag. And we've also got a romantic, which is feeling little to no romantic attraction, and it is a spectrum. Da da da. No duh, everyone knew that. We got our pretty flag though. Maybe you didn't know what that one looked like. I don't know. I wouldn't care. I'm kind of kidding. I don't know, maybe I do care. I don't know. Anyway, now we've got QPO romantic, which is a little micro label on the aromantic spectrum for the people who don't experience romantic attraction but still want a romantic relationship despite not being able to feel that attraction. Poor things. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But they do have a pretty flag. Now we got Leith romantic, which is someone who may experience romantic attraction, but they don't want it reciprocated for whatever reason. It could be from discomfort or like literally anything, but when their feelings are reciprocated, they don't have them anymore. So that must be frustrating, but I honestly wouldn't know. But anyway, pretty flag. And now we have demi-romantic, which is someone who doesn't feel romantic attraction until they formed a deep emotional connection of some kind first, which is actually really sweet. I kind of love that. They also got a pretty flag. And now we have free romantic, which is like the total opposite of demi-romantic. This person would only feel romantic attraction towards people they don't have a connection with, and then they lose feelings once they get to know each other. No matter how great the person is, they're just gonna lose feelings, which is probably really sucky. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for romantic people. Hey, at least you have a pretty flag. Sorry, that was uncalled for. Now I have pan-romantic, which is someone who is attracted to individuals entirely regardless of their gender. It just doesn't matter. So, pretty flag. And now we have biromantic, which is romantic attraction to two or more genders with or without a preference. And like bisexual, it can also be a gender like the gender same as you and a gender different from you kind of thing. Like, does that make sense? I don't really know. Pretty flag. Now we have homoromantic, which is romantic attraction to one's own gender or genders similar to their own. Hooray. I'm homoromantic, technically. Technically, I am, but I'm also homosexual, so then you just get, not the point, pretty flag. Okay, that is a wrap on all the sections, but I'm just going to call it a wrap on the romantic section so I can do a whole outro thing. So that's a wrap on the romantic section. Yay! No more romanticities for today. Thank you, guys. I just want to say thank you to anyone who actually stayed around and watched this video. I really hope that you learned something new, because even I learned something new making this video. If you already knew all these identities, good job to you though, because like, wow, you really know a lot about this community. I am very proud of you. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm sorry for the awkwardness of this whole video. I'm not very good at this kind of stuff, but I did it. So that's something, right? Yeah, that's kind of all. I hope everyone learned something new. Happy Pride. Love you all. Come out when you're ready. Don't ever feel like you have to. Don't feel like you have to find the right label for you instantly. Like, if you really need a label, like I am the kind of person who really needs one, then definitely try to find one. But it's okay if you don't know what you are instantly, and you can try out new things. It doesn't really matter. It's okay. Okay, so that's all. As I said at the beginning, I'm Melanie, and I am a venufluid lesbian. And you should know what all those words mean now. Well, you don't really need to know what Melanie means, but you should know what venufluid means, and I assume you already know what lesbian means, but if not, you should definitely know that one. Anyway, that's all. Bye!